लिखा है, हाँ, ओके ओके, सो इट लुक्स वी आर लाइव। हाँ, सो वेलकम एवरीवन। मेरा पहला लाइव है। कभी इंग्लिश, कभी हिंदी, कभी गड़बड़, कभी सीधा, कुछ भी होगा तो भूल चूक माफ, यूपीआई पे डोनेशन दे के माफ कर देना। और नया साल, जो भी रायता हैं उनको नए साल की शुभकामनाएं, और जो ट्रैड्स हैं उनके लिए क्या है ये नया साल, साला क्रिश्चियन और क्या क्या, रोमन और पता नहीं क्या क्या, उनके लिए तो कोई मतलब है नहीं। बट यू नो, अवे फ्रॉम जोक्स, ये जो आइडिया था मेरा, टू आई वांटेड टू हैव अ डिस्कशन विथ आशीष। जो ये ट्विटर पे ट्रैड एंड रायता जो चलता रहता है वो तो एक वजह थी। But I mean, I'll give, after my monologue, I'll give time to Ashish also. But this is not a Twitter debate. I think Ashish will also agree. This is something that has been going on for decades, maybe even centuries. नेहरू जी जो थे, चाचा जी, वो तो खैर लिबरल और वोक कैटेगरी में आएंगे। लेकिन अगर महात्मा गांधी की हम बात करें, so far as caste is considered, Mahatma Gandhi would be a trad, I believe. But so far as, say, Hindu-Muslim unity is concerned, Mahatma Gandhi would be a Raita, a complete Raita. So this is not something that has come up, due to Twitter. Aurobindo, I think, would be, a trad, a traditionalist. In fact, yeah, why I'm going into all this? जो कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं जिनको शायद अभी भी थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन हो कि ये ट्रैड और रायता क्या है, उनके लिए बिल्कुल संक्षिप्त में मैं बता दूं कि ट्रैड इज ऑब्वियसली शॉर्ट ऑफ फॉर ट्रेडिशनलिस्ट्स, जो स्क्रिप्चर्स, जो हमारे ट्रेडिशंस हैं, जो धर्म है उस पर जिनका काफी ज्यादा फोकस होता है। और जैसा आप आशीष को देख सकते हैं, बड़ा वो उन्होंने बड़ा सा दाढ़ी भी बढ़ा रखी है, तिलक भी लगा रखा है, टोपी नहीं पहनी है, तो वो वो बिल्कुल ट्रैड है। मैं रायता किस्म का कुछ वैसा कुछ सिग्निफायर्स है नहीं, ऊपर से लाल जैकेट पहन रखा है कम्युनिज्म वाला। तो जो रायता हैं, हमारे जैसे लोग हैं, जो जो पॉलिटिकल हिंदू हैं एक तरीके से, या यूं कह लें आईटी सेल वाले, कई बार कहा जाता है भजन मंडली कह लें, ये लिबरल हिंदू कह लें, तो ये उसमें भी रायताज में भी कई तरह के हैं, ट्रैड्स में भी अलग अलग होंगे, बहुत ज्यादा मैं जानता नहीं, आशीष को मालूमात होगी उस बारे में। सो बट द आइडिया वाज दैट दिस डिबेट इज नॉट ऑफ ट्विटर, बट जो ट्विटर की जो बात है उस पर भी हम आएंगे। ट्रैड्स की जब भी बात होती है तो अब्यूजेस और ऑल दैट, उसके बगैर बात हो ही नहीं सकती ट्विटर की, तो आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू स्कर्ट दैट इशू। उसको हम वापस एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, जब भी इस डिस्कशन में टाइम रहेगा, जब तक आप या हम बोर ना हो जाए, तो वो भी हम डिस्कस करेंगे। द वे आई थॉट वाज, माय आइडिया वाज दैट आई एम अ सेल्फ एडमिटेड रायता. I don't know much about scriptures or traditions as such, but I take pride in calling myself Hindu. But I would want to understand कि ये ट्रैड्स का वो क्या है, उनका अप्रोच क्या है इसको लेके, और ये जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होते रहते हैं, जैसा मैंने कहा, ये ट्विटर की बात नहीं है, सैकड़ों दशकों या यूं कहें कि शायद सेंचुरीज से ये चल रहा है, तो उसको थोड़ा समझने की कोशिश करेंगे। सो द फर्स्ट पार्ट वुड बी अ लिटिल बिट एकेडमिक, जहां मैं आशीष से थोड़ा समझने की कोशिश करूंगा। आई रेस्पेक्ट आशीष एज एन एडुकेटर, एज अ लर्नड मैन, तो वहां पे मैं काफी रेस्पेक्ट दूंगा। इन सेकेंड पार्ट, व्हेन वी माइट मूव टू पॉलिटिक्स एंड आइडियोलॉजी, वहां थोड़ी हमारी खटपट हो सकती है, वहां मैं बात कर सकता हूँ। वहां चलिए देखिए जैसे जैसे डिस्कशन होगा, और थर्ड में ये ट्विटर वगैरह और इन सब चीजों पे भी, अब्यूज वगैरह, उन सब पे भी डिस्कस कर सकते हैं। सो बिफोर आई गो इनटू द first part of it, where I would want to understand from Ashish this whole traditional aspect of Hinduism, and why I would want to understand, and or what is my motive, I'll also explain that. Ashish, your opening remarks.
पहले तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मुझे आप अपने इस शो पे बुलाने के लिए, और हमारी काफी टाइम से बात हो रही थी, एंड इट वाज लॉन्ग ओवरड्यू, सो थैंक यू फॉर हैविंग मी ऑन दिस शो। तो एक मैंने नोटिस किया जब आपने कहा कि आशीष से मैं ये कुछ सवाल पूछूंगा एंड ही इज एन एजुकेटर, तो आपकी एक हल्की सी स्माइल आई और मैंने वो स्माइल वापस रिफ्लेक्ट बैक की, क्योंकि मैं अपने आप को कोई एजुकेटर नहीं समझता।
नहीं नहीं, you
और
run Pragyata Upward. Those are, nice initiatives to educate people. So
या
educator would be a good term, I think, for you, apart from trad. Hmm.
या नो, बट आई एम नॉट इवन श्योर इफ आई एम अ ट्रैड, बिकॉज जो ट्रैड का जो ये लेबल है, ये ट्विटर पे ऑफ कोर्स ये पॉपुलराइज हुआ है। तो
Hmm.
अब कौन अपने आप को सेल्फ आइडेंटिफाई करता है ट्रैड, और ये एक ट्रैड के बीच में कितना मतभेद है आपस में कुछ चीजों को लेकर, वो भी मतलब मुझे उसकी थोड़ी झलक मिली है। तो मुझे
Right.
नहीं पता कि ट्रैड एग्जैक्टली व्हाट एग्जैक्टली दे स्टैंड फॉर, बिकॉज ट्रेडिशन, जब आप ट्रेडिशन की बात करते हैं तो देर आर मल्टीपल ट्रेडिशंस विद इन अ ट्रेडिशन, एंड
Right.
देर आर इनफ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स बिटवीन दोज ट्रेडिशंस एज वेल। कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बोलिए
Hmm.
या डायलेक्टिकल इंटरेक्शन, डायलॉग, जो भी बोलना है उसको, तो वो हमेशा से रहा है। जैसे आपने कहा, ये आज की बात नहीं है।
Hmm.
पर ट्रैड वर्सेस रायता जो मेरी दृष्टि में जो मुझे नजर आता है, वो ये है कि ये एक ट्रेडिशन वर्सेस मॉडर्निटी का जो ट्रोप है,
Hmm.
तो वो उसके ऊपर है। और उसमें जो रायता है वो मॉडर्निटी को बहुत अनक्रिटिकली देखता है। ये मेरा
Right.
पर्सनल व्यू
Hmm.
है। और
Okay.
ट्रेडिशनल, जैसा मैंने कहा, क्योंकि ट्रेडिशन तो हमेशा, जैसे कंजर्वेटिव वर्सेस लिबरल में भी यही होता है कि कंजर्वेटिव
Hmm.
जो है उसके लिए कंसेंसस होना बड़ा मुश्किल है, क्योंकि
Hmm.
जो कंजर्वेटिव है वो ट्रेडिशनल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आता है। और ट्रेडिशन इतना पुराना, जैसा हमारा ट्रेडिशन है, जो धार्मिक ट्रेडिशन
Hmm.
है,
Hmm.
वो हजारों हजारों साल पुराना है। और
Hmm.
उसमें कितना एवोल्यूशन हुआ है और कितना चेंज हुआ है ओवर टाइम, और
Hmm.
आपस में डिफरेंट ट्रेडिशंस में जो मतभेद है, तो इसलिए उसमें कंसेंसस होना एक इम्पॉसिबिलिटी है। तो
Hmm.
ट्रेडिशनलिस्ट है कौन, ये पॉइंट फिंगर करना बड़ा मुश्किल है।
Hmm.
जबकि दूसरी ओर से जो मॉडर्निटी को जो इम्बाइब करते हैं, या उसके उसके लिए जो दोज पीपल हु स्टैंड फॉर मॉडर्निटी, देयर इज मोर और लेस क्लियर कंसेंसस अबाउट the fundamentals, about how they see tradition, right?
Hmm.
And they take a critical view of tradition, and in the opinion of most traditionalists, that is a very shallow view, because they don't understand tradition first.
Hmm.
So that I think is the dichotomy that is reflected in all kinds of debates between
Right.
Raita or Trad, so-called
Right.
Raita.
But on the Raita side also, like as you would say that on the traditionalist side there are multiple views on so-called Raita, in absence of any honorary word. There are also multitudes of opinions. So many people are not entirely dismissive about traditions and all. But to and that's where that's why I wanted to have this discussion, is that especially on Twitter, I mean, we live about the normal fights and all that, but in the core of it, जो रायता या जो जिन जो एक कैटेगरी ऑफ रायता है जिनसे शायद सबसे ज्यादा चिढ़ मचती है आप लोगों को, चारवाक्स, उनका जो रहेगा, like their criticism is like that you guys are making, when you insist too much on tradition, when you insist too much on scriptures, you are making Hinduism similar to Abrahamic religion. Now, how that is wrong or right, we would go step by step. That's where I said that, in this first part, I would like to understand, and I would want to begin with very basics, so and this entire I don't know how long it will go, but this will be entirely about understanding that how or whether we are similar to Abrahamic religions, or we are
Right.
not. How? So the first thing is that, from complete pure Raita point of view, your religion ka definition, especially, because whatever we have imbibed through the secular education. The secular education is mostly Abrahamic education, so far as religion and traditions and these things are concerned. Now, the way religion is understood, not all Raitas are so secularized, but say a common person coming out of the Indian education system, the way he understands religion is through the Western point of view. जो रिलीजन का जो डेफिनेशन है मोस्टली क्रिएशनलिज्म को है कि कोई भगवान ऊपर हैं जिन्होंने सारे कुछ, ही मेड बिलियंस ऑफ थिंग्स, उनमें से celestial bodies, plants, human beings और all that, and special creation he had of human beings. और जो ये ह्यूमन बींग्स हैं उनके लाइफ में ये भगवान जी को बहुत ज्यादा वो है, इंटरेस्ट है. ही सेंड्स प्रॉफिट्स, कमांडमेंट्स होने चाहिए और उस तरह से आप लाइफ जियो, और नहीं जियोगे तो आपको नरक में जला जला के मारेंगे वो. तो दिस इज द ब्रॉड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ रिलीजन. दैट्स हाउ द वेस्ट और द अब्राहमिक रिलीजन is concerned. In fact, I would tell you that, okay, and this is a simplistic definition. If you were to offer a simplistic definition of what is Sanatan religion or what is Hindu religion, how would you define it? And what, in terms of these 3 or 4 things, creationism and a God who controls your life, and God who rewards you or punishes you. So on these three basic things, how would you offer somebody, say a person who is in US and he is asked by a Christian guy that how is your idea of religion different from ours? So what would be your simple answer for to help that person?
तो एक चीज तो मैं I would first like to go with a disclaimer that I am not an acharya or anything, as is clear. So therefore, whatever I say is, there is likelihood that I may be wrong, and I should be pardoned for any errors in my understanding of religion, of dharma. And that is something that I would like to admit right at the start. So, and whatever I speak is my view of dharma, my understanding of dharma, and need not be dharma per se, right? For clarifying those things, I think we should refer to, we should speak with the great acharyas and the mathadishas that we have. So my understanding of the distinction between Abrahamism and the so-called Hinduism, so ism ban gaya ab, which is that there is the exclusivity clause, my way or highway, which defines Abrahamic religions, saying that only what I say is correct. And like you mentioned, that there is a multitude of sects even within Abrahamic fold, not just the 3 religions, but also within those religions there are multiple sects. Just say Islam mein Shia Sunni primarily, then there are Ahmadiyas, then there are Bohris, then there are etc etc. ऐसे बहुत सारे हैं, और क्रिश्चियनिटी में भी ऐसे हैं, कॉप्टिक हो गए, प्रोटेस्टेंट हो गए, कैथोलिक हो गए. So and there are profound differences between them, profound conflicts between them. Differences तो minor है, but the feature that defines them is that they believe that only their particular interpretation of their scripture is correct, and everything else is false. So the classical divide between the Roman Catholic religion and the Protestant religion is that the Protestant religion says कि ये clergy ही हटा दो. We don't believe in midway, मतलब between us and God there should be no middleman. तो ये clergy वर्जी हटा दो. There is only belief and stuff like that. There is no place for rituals, and so this exclusivity, the fact that it is my way or the highway, that is what distinguishes dharma from these Abrahamic cults. In dharma there is a multitude, a multiplicity of beliefs. अलग अलग समुदाय हैं, संप्रदाय हैं, और उनकी अपनी मान्यताएं हैं, अपने रिचुअल्स हैं. कुछ लोग रिचुअलिस्टिक हैं, कुछ ज्यादा कॉन्टेम्पलेटिव हैं. जैसे even within the classical schools of Hinduism, the 6 classical schools, between Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa, there is a profound difference with respect to their attitude towards rituals. एक ritualist, दूसरा contemplative है. तो ये जो चीजें हैं, this plurality and diversity, no matter how cliched, is actually a fundamental feature of religion. And it allows for diversity of thought. दूसरा है the focus on individual, that you are here to work out your karma, you are here to work out your enlightenment के लिए किस तरह से तुम pursue करते हो, what kind of efforts you make, your sadhana, and the path that you follow, that becomes very critical, because you are the unit which carries dharma, right? And you of the dharma is extremely important to you. And that Swadharma is, of course, again defined by a variety of things around it, including where you're born, from where Jati Dharma comes, and what you're practicing, uh, which particular place you're living in, udhar ka kya law hai, jaise. So everything kind of converges and informs you कि तुम्हारा धर्म क्या है और उसमें चार पुरुषार्थ हो गए जैसे कि चार पुरुषार्थ हमारे हैं. These are just fundamentals, right? These are not.
Sorry, but this very much appears like a way of life. Then the way you are defining the core concept in Abrahamic religion.
So way of life, though, I mean that is where I disagree with the common interpretation, because way of life, all religions are a way of life. You see, I mean, even Christianity is a way of life because it tells you what you should do.
The core belief that there is a supernatural power controlling our lives and who wants us to live according to his, not her, commandments. That is completely common between all Abrahamic religion. There is absolutely no, conflict or diversion of views over there. So, is there anything such a core in Sanatan religion? That's what I would want to understand. In which case, say if we also believe in some supernatural, and who is going to?
I mean, most popular schools of Hinduism do have an Ishwar. So an Ishwar is that supernatural, omnipotent being who is, who's actually immanent as well as transcendent, and who sort of governs our life that way. So every time it's a personal God, right? And and it is not. See, the thing is that it is not common for all sects to appeal to that personal God. If we talk about schools that are so-called atheistic, जैसे सांख्य है, तो सांख्य school is not atheistic, it is just non-theistic, that it does not have a place for Ishwar. It does not really care about these principles, and it has its own scheme worked out, its own epistemology and its own language in which it deals with the philosophical questions and the path of realization. So to say one thing about, I mean, the thing that defines or distinguishes dharma from Abrahamic religions is this fact that you cannot put a finger on exactly kya hai, kyunki there are so many sects and so many belief systems within the larger Dharmic belief system. So every place has its own completeness. Every sect has its own completeness, its own way of looking at things. And I, as a member of one particular sampradaya, may have a certain way of life and a certain belief system, and you may have another belief system, and yet we will agree on some basics like कि हाँ हमारा पुनर्जन्म होगा और हम this is not the only life that we have and there is a God, and वो notional consensus तो exist करता ही है. And everything is the cultural life of India has been such that it has been determined by, I mean, it's been informed heavily by the epics, for example, Ramayana और महाभारत हो गए. So वो जो collective है, जो culture है हमारा, वो common हो जाता है, but individually we can be very different in terms of our personal practice. So that is not the case with Abrahamic faiths. And thirdly, maybe come back to all these, but just because you asked that pointed question, thirdly, I think the most significant difference is that of historicism, which is to say that in Christianity there is this clear dogma that Christ, being the Son of God, God intervened in the history of human beings at a single point of time in history, and he was born as the Son of God and in flesh and blood, and he died for our sins. And once you believe that, then everything is sorted out, and you will basically attain heaven at some point in the future. So that historicism is not there in धार्मिक faiths. There is, of course, the conception of अवतारहुड कि अवतरित होके जो ईश्वर है, महाविष्णु है, वो आके धरती पे आते हैं और वो श्री राम या श्री कृष्ण के रूप में धर्म को वापस स्थापित करते हैं. but that does not mean that it will happen only, it happened only once and it will never happen again, and that there is some special, and if you don't believe in Shri Krishna, then you are doomed. So nothing like that exists.
Right. So, I mean, then the way popularly trads are supposed to be, that that you insist on something, some particular set of traditions, some particular set of scriptural sanction, and if you are not sticking to that, then you are going astray, or maybe you are not even Hindus. I mean, especially, I mean, I'm jumping to the Twitter things straight away, but I don't want to have the focus on that. But you would say that this, I mean, would I be right in concluding is that such an approach would not be valid till the time the other person is coming up with a, how to put it, that his interpretation or his way of looking at things has a certain tradition as well, uh, which has a, I mean, where do you draw the line that this particular way, this is not a certified or sanctioned way of looking at things, or this is not how you are supposed to, this is not a sampradaya that can be part of the bigger umbrella in which we agree to disagree, kind of a thing. So what are those, where are, who will draw those boundaries? Will you again leave it to the dharmacharyas, or there are certain things which can be looked into to draw those boundaries?
It's a it's a slightly complex question, because one, when we talk about the individual, so I think the first thing that one needs to do when one is debating these things is to make a distinction between the individual and the collective, because there are certain things that will apply to an individual and there are certain things that will apply to a collective. And in the collective, the dharma is defined accordingly, right? कि हमारा एज अ ग्रुप हमारा क्या धर्म है आज की स्थिति में, और जब हम अपने आप को धार्मिक फोल्ड का एक भाग मानते हैं, तो हमें किस तरह से एज अ यूनिट, एज अ cohesive collective unit, हम किस तरह से रिस्पॉन्ड करते हैं to the challenges that are thrown at us by modernity and by these other hostile creeds, right? So that is one, but the other question is that of the individual, and the individual again has to go back to the tradition, right? So the question of tradition itself, ki as an individual Rahul, whether he believes in certain things or not is informed by which tradition he comes from. And for that, Rahul needs to be familiar with his own tradition. And I need to be familiar with my own tradition, and then we can have a debate. Now, what is that tradition? That tradition is not simply getting familiar with concepts, but it is a, as they say, it's a lived tradition. And unless you are living that tradition, then there is no point even debating it if you're not living it. So that is where I think modern debates about what is right and what is wrong for being a Hindu, uh, confusion happens at both levels. One, you confuse the individual with the group, and you Abrahamize it, and you make it about what you believe in as opposed to what you live. Because if you believe in certain things and don't live those things in your life, then it does not apply. For
Right.
example, if I say that as a Brahmin, right? As a Brahmin, I it is enjoined upon me to do sandhya 3 times a day. और तभी मैं गायत्री जप करूंगा अगर of a significant number every day without fail, then I am basically eligible to be called as a Brahmin. But if I'm not doing it, तो मैं Brahmin नहीं हूँ. And because I'm not, I don't consider myself as a Brahmin, right? So a lot of people, call me caste, right? But here is my opportunity to make it very public that I don't even consider myself a Brahmin. So it's okay. I mean, but if someone is making that claim, कि मैं Brahmin हूँ, so he doesn't just need to believe in certain things; he needs to live a certain way. And I can tell you with confidence that in today's age, being a Brahmin is almost impossible. there are people who live that way, but very, very difficult to do it. So you see, that's the difference. So one is the focus on practice as opposed to just beliefs, and secondly is this confusion about collective versus individual.
Okay, so and there is a question, and to jump, to ask this question, let's remove.
I saw the question.
So let's remove the individual. Let's come to the collective, and so Buddha, for example, the question he made a collective, for example, which became the Buddhist tradition. So are they out of the Hindu fold, or are they inside the Hindu fold? And if they are inside, in both cases you explain to me, if they are inside, then is there a time limit you are putting that, okay, how many Buddhas can come? Buddha as a placeholder, I am saying that in today's world, can someone start a new tradition or a new sampradaya? Are we putting a time?
I'll take it one question at a time. So the question of Buddhism, for example,
right.
And there's a lot of opinion about Buddhism that goes on the social media, and there's heavy, as with everything, whether it is about Buddhism or whether it is about the color of the curtains that should be put in someone's house, सब चीजों में लड़ाई होती है.
Right.
But I will invoke the same, the paradigm that I just introduced in thinking about these things. I will make a distinction between the individual and the collective. So as far as Buddhism is concerned, for me as an individual, I do think that it is a part of Hinduism, very much. In fact, जो Vajrayana Buddhism है, जो Tibetan Buddhism, that is so much like the Tantric religion, which was practiced in Kashmir, that I would be foolish to disown it. I would be foolish to say that they have nothing to do, because historically it traveled from Kashmir to Tibet, and all of their deities, they've just given them different names, but they're basically the same deities that we have in Hinduism, right? And even their latest the major text, which is the Kal Chakra Tantra, they have not even changed the name of the deities. Those are Hindu deities in there, right? So, I mean, it's a matter of fact that it is Hinduism, practiced in a different way. It is Dharma. It is Hindu Dharma. And they give it a different name, which is fine. I mean, we are not particular about those things, which is what distinguishes us. We spread Dharma without bickering over कि नहीं इसको यही बोलो, right? So that's the magnanimity of Dharma. It is not that we don't do it, right? The common misconception, हम तो हमेशा peaceful थे और हम कभी ये नहीं करते थे, ये सब बकवास है. We were expansionist. We upheld our religion, we upheld our values, and we spread those values because we thought that those values are worth living by. So that is how it should be. And when those values spread, they adapted, and it got colored in the cultural milieu of the particular place that it traveled to. So that is one thing. But if you talk about collective now, when we speak about the politics of it, so then I would say that it's a different religion, because in the modern world, how if Hindus go about pleading to every other religion कि तुम तो हमारे भाई हो, तुम तुम्हारे भाई हो, तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला. वो तो आपको थप्पड़ के वापस ही भेजने वाला है कि तुम कौन हो भाई, हम तो नहीं मानते. Because we as a collective are extremely weak and looked down upon by most other people, whether it is the Sikhs, whether it is the Buddhists, whether it is even some Jains. So हम क्यों जाएं उनके पीछे? So that's a decision that we as a collective should be taking, because the other guys are not comfortable associating with Hinduism because Hindus are a weak collective today. And so we should rather focus internally and say कि नहीं, हम अपना, let's put our house in order, and these guys will always come back when they have to. I mean, no compulsion from our side. So that is a difference that I want to make clear here.
Yeah, but
when we speak collectively, Hinduism is a different religion. But when I in my individual practice, I wouldn't make that distinction. I may even benefit from some Buddhist techniques in my own personal journey. Nothing wrong about that.
Yeah, I mean, the other part that you said about, that we should not be weak and all that, that goes into a bit of, ideological and political thing. But I'll come back to the, the religious or the scriptural part of it. So, as per you, I mean, Buddhists can be considered a part of Hinduism till obviously they are comfortable calling themselves Hinduism, and we are not going to go after कि नहीं नहीं आप Hindu हो ही. But they can be considered part of Hinduism because one, that their broad ideas or the deities are similar, and
They are the same.
yeah, same. And history, I am bad with English, whatever word you used. In that sense, I mean, like when Buddha started preaching, there obviously he had conflict with Brahmins and all that. He was starting something new, right? So where are you going to draw the line if today someone starts preaching? For hypothetically, let's say a bunch of Christians, they say that, okay, we are rejecting this dogma that only one God is there and Christ was the Son. We consider Christ as a very good person, and we want him to be a part of the Hindu pantheon. Let's take it a hypothetical scenario. And they say that, okay, we are willing to worship Krishna, Ram, everyone, and let Jesus be part of the Hindu pantheon as well. And we are going to reject that my way or highway thing, and we are going to accept ideas similar to yours. Then and they have a collective, they have a tradition, they have their own thing. Are you going to say that, okay, they can also be Hindus? Or where is there a line that can be drawn? Is that a line that has to be drawn in history, or in what sense?
No, it's more or less self-identificatory. That if someone were to say that, I mean, that's how new sampradayas are born all the time. That you have a figure of influence, for example, or someone with a great spiritual accomplishment, some vibhuti, some great saint, like Sri Ramakrishna, for example, Ramakrishna, and then his disciple Swami Vivekananda, right? These are people with great power, great influence, power in terms of spiritual power, in terms of the changes that they can make to the consciousness of people, how they inspire people and stuff like that, right? So these are people who are free to start that. I mean, because they have followers. Today you have many different gurus who have their significant number of followers. They over time become a new sampradaya, and they because they are part of the mainstream, they are like distributaries of the same river. So they are identified by the same name. They may have peculiar practices. They may have some central figure of authority. They may have their own texts, but those texts are also connected to the Shastras in some way, and they derive their authority from that, going all the way back to the most ancient of those texts. So that's a regular thing. Now, if any Christian wants to worship Ram and Shri Krishna, be my guest. Please do it. Who prevents them from doing it? I mean, they can always do it. So it's not a question of me approving or not. The simple fact is that they will never do it because that is violating their core religious principle. But if in a hypothetical situation, like you said, if there are some Christians who want to do it, yeah, very good. Go ahead. I mean, they can make their own sampradaya and start worshipping Jesus and Shiva alongside. I mean, as far as I am concerned, I don't see that as a problem, though I know that it will never happen.
Yeah, that's why I said hypothetical, because then in that sense, one Abrahamic concept of takfiri, which is especially in Islam. So would you say that is absent in Hinduism?
What is that of takfiri?
Takfiri is basically you declare a set of people. For example, the Ahmadis, they consider themselves Muslims, but there is this authority in Islam that no, they are not Muslims. I mean, takfiri is basically.
Yeah, that's
you declare a set of people that they are not bona fide.
That is because there is a dominant strain of Islam which has its own centralized structure. For example, the Sunnis have the Caliph, and the Caliph is the backbone of the Sunni world, right? Even today, when Turkey is rising again, you see Sunnis all over the world, kind of rallying around that flag and hoping that the caliphate will be established again. That is also how the Khilafat movement got very popular in
Right.
India. Right? So that is because you have that central authority who says that tum sahi ho, wo asli Musliman
So,
nahi.
but to although you are putting it as a mostly an outcome of political power, but the reason why say Ahmadis can be declared non-Muslim is because there are five things that a Muslim must believe in, and one
No,
of it
that's
is the finality
no,
of the
no.
Prophet. So is there is there something like that in Hinduism where say that this crosses the line? I mean, you did say that something like a my way or the highway is perhaps that's what crosses the line, or would you be able to, or is it even
No, that
possible
is
to come up
no,
with three or four or
that is
five
what
things? Huh.
in my understanding, that is a different paradigm in which these Abrahamic religions operate, and the same
Okay.
rules can simply not be applied to Hinduism.
Okay.
But at the same time, you cannot say that Hinduism has no rules, which is
Huh,
the problem
precisely.
that a
Yeah.
lot of people have.
Hmm.
And in fact, in Hinduism, a lot of things are so clearly specified.
Hmm.
For example, if you were to take up the Anushtan of a mantra, right, and if you were to seriously pursue some kind of sadhana, then it is even your, I mean, the Shastras will tell you what to eat, when to wake up,
Hmm.
how many times to chant that mantra, what rules to follow, what color of clothes to wear, which posture you need to sit, how to keep the book in front of you, how does the book have to be stored. So that is
Hmm.
the level of detail to which it will specify everything. So there are rules and regulations for every single thing that you do with respect to
Hmm.
that, and even outside it, like the food that you eat. If you are taking a Gayatri Anusthana, for example, you cannot have food that is cooked by anyone else than your wife or mother, right?
Hmm.
So it does not mean there are no rules or there are no dogmas. There are, but you see, the focus is on practice. This is something that you are pursuing. This is a
Hmm.
practice that you've taken up, and now, in order for the practice to succeed, for you to attain some sort of accomplishment, तुम सिद्ध हो जाओ, तुम्हारा मंत्र सिद्ध हो जाए, उसके लिए everything is specified, and there is
Hmm.
no chance in hell that you are going to violate those rules because the outcomes could be dangerous, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so that's the difference, right? It's not about just sitting here and thinking through and speculating what is right and what is wrong. It is
Hmm.
taking a practice, interiorizing that practice, and then following that and fortifying your position and your path with these rules that are prescribed in the Shastras.
Right. So those rules exist, and if in Abrahamic religions, if you break those rules, you are going to be punished very bitterly in this world as well as outside. After you die. So
Yeah, that's because
that,
Abrahamic religions are collectivist by nature. They will
so that's
specify
not
rules
there
for
in
the whole
Hinduism
group.
here.
In Hinduism, if you are practicing, following a certain path, then that
Hmm.
path is very specific to you.
Hmm.
It's like the difference between modern science, Western medicine and Ayurveda, right?
Hmm.
So Ayurveda is very specific to your body constitution and you,
Hmm.
how you, and it also specifies what kind of lifestyle you should have in order for
Hmm.
your treatment
Hmm.
to be effective. That
Hmm.
is not the case. In the Western system, you are just given a pill, right? And it is
Hmm.
effective. The pill is
Hmm.
effective, no doubt about it. But that's the that's the analogy that I would give to drive home the point of what the difference really is.
So you break the rules at your own peril.
Yes.
Uh, so that's clear. But is
And
the
and
God?
and yeah, and yeah, of course, if you're part of a sampradaya formally, if you've taken diksha, for example, from a guru,
Hmm.
then that becomes binding on you. And if you don't follow that, then you can be kicked out of the sampradaya. So
Hmm.
even though there is no blasphemy as such, but
Right.
yeah, there are consequences to your breaking the rule, other than just the fact that it might bring bring you some dangers.
So
Because
that. Hmm.
when your guru initiates you onto the path, then it is also his responsibility to make
Hmm.
sure that you are complying with the rules. And if you break the rules, then some of that damage might even accrue to him. So,
Okay.
that way.
So he can be kicked out of the Sampradaya society. He could become an outcast. Uh, he cannot be. He might even be killed. But that's a political thing. But will God want him to be killed or kicked out? I
No,
mean,
that's a very,
you said,
I mean,
huh,
that's a very different conception. And I will not see the problem with this
hmm,
this framing of this question is that it it asks a question of Hinduism, while there are so
hmm,
many different types and so many different
right,
sects of Hinduism. So
right.
I can speak for my sect
Yeah,
that there is no
I
such.
think I got it. Yeah, I mean, so
I
if
don't want to dismiss that question. See, why
uh,
I'm being slightly iffy here is that I don't want to dismiss that question because I
hmm,
don't really know if there is a sampradaya who actually believes like that. I mean, if they
right,
have conception of a god, which I am not aware, but maybe
okay.
there are some people who have such a
So, so,
mindset.
so that's where my confusion is, that if there are so many of multitudes of opinions and sampradayas, in that sense we are very, and we indeed are a very liberal religion in and something that writers can take
No, but you
pride
see, I mean, that's the difference. See, I mean, when you invoke the term liberal, then
in.
that
Okay,
naturally
okay.
brings in कि सब कुछ जाता है. Like I said,
हाँ,
if you are
right.
following the path, तुम्हें खाना भी क्या है और किसका पका हुआ खाना वो भी बताया जाएगा. तो ये
Hmm.
लिबरल नहीं है.
Hmm.
इसमें
No,
it,
but there are sampradayas who might not be so much stickler for rules, and they are part of the Hindu religion, and they derive their understanding from the shastras, and they are
no, I
part. Huh.
No, I don't think there are any, I mean, any serious pursuit of knowledge or of,
Hmm.
in our religion is devoid of rules. हर sect के rules होंगे. There are peculiar rules,
Hmm.
very specific rules. But there are no sects which have no rules. वो सब नहीं
Right,
होता. मतलब and these
right, right.
modern interpretations.
Right. Completely no rule. Obviously, सब चलता है. Obviously, that's something that's वो दिल के खुश रखने को गालिब ये ख्याल अच्छा है वाली बात है. That's obviously even I don't agree. But what I am trying to understand or question is that when I mean, which of these sects are sanctioned or legal? Legal in the I don't know what should be the term. आप किस सेक्ट को नहीं मानोगे कि नहीं चारवाक नहीं है, वो इस एक ब्रॉड फ्रेमवर्क में नहीं आते हैं. चारवाक इज जस्ट अ प्लेस होल्डर और कुछ है नहीं, और कई सारे ट्रेड्स उनको गाली देते हैं, इसलिए मैंने बोला. तो सो वो ये जो जितने भी हमारे मल्टीट्यूड्स ऑफ सेक्ट्स हैं, उनमें लेजिटिमेसी जैसी कोई चीज रहेगी, और अगर रहेगी तो वो किस चीज से आएगी? वो जस्ट बिकॉज 500 साल से ज्यादा पुराने हैं इसलिए वो लेजिटिमेट हैं, या फिर आज भी कुछ नया स्टार्ट हो सकता है और वो लेजिटिमेट हो सकता है? इसका आई थिंक इन अ वे यू हैव काइंड ऑफ आंसर्ड इट, बट आई वुड स्टिल वांट यू टू.
Part of the answer is what you just suggested कि वो 500 साल से ज्यादा है तो
हाँ.
उसकी legitimacy self attained legitimacy है. That is because it has passed the test of time. In the
हम्म,
evolution of ideas, bad
हम्म,
ideas have died down, and it is only the working, the workable, and the pragmatic which has survived.
हम्म,
So when a sampradaya is formed, and this is my personal way of seeing things,
हम्म,
that when a sampradaya is formed, it produces great people, right?
हम्म,
It has, I mean, the test really is how many great people it produces. The Ramakrishna Mission produced Swami Vivekananda, and Swami Vivekananda continues to inspire generations, even me, personally
हम्म.
speaking. And he will continue to do so, I believe, for the next 300, 400 years at least.
हम्म,
So that is the test of the sampradaya, right?
हम्म.
Self self-validating mechanism, and no external authority will come and put a seal that this is working and this is not. Whatever is inspiring, whatever continues to produce vibhutis and great men who make a mark in this world, as far as dharma is concerned, that sampradaya will be self-certified, gold
So they
gold
gain
standard.
legitimacy through social movements, through then that there comes a political aspect into it.
No, not
Uh,
social movement. Not social
yeah.
movement. I'm saying
Okay.
specifically people of great spiritual authority.
Okay.
If your sampradaya produces, if there is a school of let's say Shakti worship that
Hmm.
continuously produces great Shaktas, right,
Hmm.
and people who have great Siddhi, that is self-evident, right, and that is proof of the pudding is in the eating. So you are producing great men, which means that your ideas are working. So these are ideas that are great for dharma.
And who
Well,
are going to satisfy?
I'm not really interested in social movements and if someone is a great social reformer and all that. In this context, I'm just talking about great
Yeah.
spiritual figure.
No, I didn't really mean social reformer kind of a thing, but in a way, you also agreed that कि 500 साल से हैं, they have kind of uh, survived the test of time or passed the test of time, so they gain legitimacy.
Yeah.
Now, but is there no other way? I mean, like say आज को just to be a little flippant कि अगर संघ बन जाए कि उनके हिसाब से नहीं, हम इतने साल से चल रहे हैं, वो अपना कुछ वो करें कि ये हमारे टेक्स्ट हैं, वो हैं, आई मीन मैं
वो
जान के
अगर
थोड़ा
करें,
लगा रहा हूँ
आप ये है कि
बिकॉज
अगर वो करें,
हाँ
मतलब पहली बात तो आप किस टेक्स्ट को अथॉरिटी मानते हो, आपका फिलोसफिकल स्ट्रक्चर क्या है, आप कौन से समुदाय का, आप कौन से संप्रदाय से अलाइन करते हो, आप वैष्णव हो, आप शैव हो, आप शाक्त हो। तो बेसिक चीजें तो आपकी क्लियर होनी चाहिए ना कि आप हो क्या। क्या आप
हाँ
कोई स्कूल ऑफ योगा हो, क्या आप कोई क्या आप कोई फिलोसफर्स का स्कूल हो। तो वो चीज क्लियर होनी चाहिए। जब तक वो नहीं है तब तक आप क्लेम नहीं कर सकते ना कि हम एक संप्रदाय हैं उस प्रकार से। तो
ओके, सो संप्रदाय, हाँ, आई मीन
फंडामेंटल।
क्राउड या कम्युनिटी होगी, वो संप्रदाय नहीं है, आई मीन
हाँ,
ऑब्वियसली, हाँ, ओके, फाइन। सो बट यूड स्टिल नॉट से कि या कुछ ऐसा है, अगर जैसे या वो बिल्कुल अब्राहमिक फ्रेमवर्क है कि चार पांच चीज ये तो रहनी ही चाहिए, जैसे अगर फाइनलिटी ऑफ प्रॉफिट नहीं है मुस्लिम में, तो अहमदिया मुसलमान नहीं हो सकता, वो अपने आप को संप्रदाय कहता रहे, they will not gain legitimacy because they don't believe in finality of the prophet, which is supposed to be a core principle of Islam. So are there core principles in which in through which we can say कि नहीं, चाहे ये 300 400 500 साल कुछ भी हो, लेकिन ये संप्रदाय लेजिटिमेट नहीं हो सकता क्योंकि ये इस कोर प्रिंसिपल को, हिंदुइज्म के या सनातन धर्म को फॉलो नहीं करता। Would you be able to put some?
लगता है कि बेसिक कंसेंसस तो है ही आजकल मेन स्ट्रीम हिंदुइज्म में। अब हम फ्रिंज में नहीं जाते हैं कि अगर कोई एक्सेप्शन होगा किसी चीज में, वो ज्यादा हाइपोथेटिकल होगी। बट मेन स्ट्रीम हिंदुइज्म में दो चार चीजें तो है ही जो कंसेंसस है कि भाई थियोरी ऑफ कर्म है, रीबर्थ है, कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ इनकारनेशन है, मतलब ऑफ अवतारहुड है, देयर इज द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ नॉट कंज्यूमिंग बीफ in Kali. So that these things are there, which every Hindu more or less would agree with कि बीफ नहीं खाना, तो ये सबको पता है नहीं खाना। सो ये these aside, then there is no final thing कि ये चीजें belief system है। Then it all depends on what you are practicing, what you
Would you answer
are.
this question?
So what does it mean to be a liberal Hindu then? Such doesn't. I think you should be answering that question. मुझसे क्यों?
No, that's what I'm trying to understand. As a liberal Hindu, do I qualify as a Hindu or not? So, but you are still giving a indicative list of things, like so beef obviously इधर मैंने I mean like डीजी कर्मा जो था उसके साथ उस पे कई लोग चढ़ गए थे, like he was putting कि beef नॉन निगोशिएबल में शायद हम ना रखें, but you are putting it in non-negotiable, तो ये
देखिए
शास्त्रार्थ
उसमें भी मेरी भी
शास्त्र है जिससे, हाँ,
डिजी कर्मा से बात हुई थी मेरी भी, तो मैंने उसमें ये बोला था कि एज फार एज उसमें भी यही डिस्टिंक्शन होना चाहिए जब आप किसी भी चीज को एनालाइज करते हैं। तो एज इंडिविजुअल मेरे संप्रदाय में बीफ खाना अलाउड नहीं है। मैटर एंड्स फॉर वो मेरे लिए डॉग, मैं डॉगमा को बीफ नहीं खाना। एज अ कलेक्टिव हम बात कर रहे हैं कि कंसेंसस कहाँ है, और ये पॉलिटिकल टेरिटरी। तो आई थिंक देयर इज रूम फॉर डिस्कशन But I am pretty certain that there is no room for allowing beef because now it has become a symbol of Hindu resistance.
Right, that I agree, completely
So the
agree.
question of saying कि नहीं beef allow कर
Hmm.
देते हैं, I don't think there is any room for discussion on beef as
Yeah,
such.
beef. That personally, I also agree that beef, Gaumutra, these gyres are simply thrown to, it's a violent attack on Hinduism, and
Correct.
it's a hostile way of looking at Hinduism. So then the person himself is not considering himself Hindu, तो हम क्यों मरे जा रहे हैं उसको हिंदू इंक्लूड करने के लिए? बट आई थिंक दैट गाय हैड अ पॉइंट कि अगर कोई ऐसा है जिसको लाइक उसने खा लिया गलती से, या बट एनीवे वो आई थिंक यू हैड डिस्कस दैट इनफ, और वी हैड दैट, बट यू आर स्टिल सेइंग कि ऑब्वियस सी बात है कि वो हमारे ऐसे शास्त्र में या कोई एक होली बुक तो है नहीं कि नहीं ये 5 चीज हैं ही, यही ये 5 तो मिनिमम करने ही पड़ेंगे, नहीं तो आप संप्रदाय हिंदू संप्रदाय नहीं कहला सकते। ऐसा 4 या 5 हम नहीं कर सकते। दिस इज समथिंग विच वुड कम थ्रू डिबेट्स, डिस्कशन एंड पासिंग द टेस्ट ऑफ टाइम, राइट?
Correct. I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't really, I mean, even if I put a gun on your head, perhaps you cannot come with, say, 3, or can you? ये 3 या 4, you actually you did come, but उसमें से एक जैसे बीफ भी आया तो हो सकता है उस पे सबके कंसेंसस ना हो, but in terms of shastras or in terms of scriptures, there is no list as such. I mean, it's a collective wisdom that we have acquired through millennia. Yeah.
The thing is that the question is complex. It is like saying, it is like debating the nature of self. कि अब सेल्फ है या सेल्फ वॉइस शून्यता है या सेल्फ फुलनेस है, मतलब it goes into that territory. So uh, it is best to have these debates if it is so important for the modern Hindu. It is best to have these debates between dharmacharyas and to say कि हम ये चीजें फाइनल कर देते हैं. But I don't think that having a list of final, because that is not how dharma works. As I said, the focus is on practice, and whatever works in practice is formalized. So sitting here debating, speculating is not dharmic. मतलब it is not a discussion to be had in leisure कि अच्छा ये चीज ठीक है या ये नहीं है. It's not that. What works for one school may not work for another, which is why there is a multitude of paths.
Okay.
Ultimately, ultimately, the question is again, like Professor S. Balagangadhar, he terms it as performative, that Hinduism, I disagree with a lot of his assertions, but I do think that this is a very important coinage, that Hinduism is a performative religion.
Okay.
Rather than a way of life, it is more useful to call it a performative religion, that you are performing it. And that is why it is also highly ritualistic. Mere thought does not take you anywhere. It is putting that thought into action, and that is what rituals are, actualizing your intent. And when that happens, then you figure ki, acha, what works, what practices work, what don't, what kind of beliefs support my overall process of, of approaching the divine. And whatever works is formalized.
Okay. I think, I kind of would agree with that, but with a little liberal raita, kind of thing. So, in modern times, people would like to, they would like to be left alone, like they would want an life where they are pursuing very secular, not in political terms, goals, and they want a sense of identity, and they want to keep it. I mean, like most of the, say, Western Christians would live their life. I mean, I don't think many of them really are Catholics, or or they even know they would, in once a week or whatever, they would go to the church and they would make money, they would drink wine, have sex, and all that. And obviously, from a conservative Christian point of view, they are bad Christians. in liberal Hindus, as that question would come, liberal Hindus would want to have that kind of life, and still wouldn't want to be called bad Hindus. Is that possible or not?
See, that's a what you mentioned about Christians
Hmm.
comes from that. It's a logical outcome of the Protestant Reformation.
Hmm.
Uh, Protestant Reformation happened. It basically hollowed out the uh, the core of the Christian structure, and it was highly anti-ritualistic, and it was
Hmm.
more belief-oriented and more history themed. And secularism was a logical outcome of that.
Hmm.
And when you talk about the new ideologies of Marxism and this progressivism, all that is a direct outgrowth of Protestant Christianity.
Hmm.
Uh, exactly how they view, I mean, the notions at the bottom of their worldview are common. And so when a Hindu says that I would like to be left alone, no one is actually pulling them and telling them, nahin, tumhe aisa karna hai. In any case, most Hindus are emotional Hindus. In the absence of institutions and strong institutions to uphold dharma, to propagate dharma, to teach dharma to kids, there is no such thing existing in India.
Hmm.
Therefore, most, including you and me, grow up totally without any exposure to dharmic education. And it is
Hmm.
only our interest that brings us to study or to listen to talks and all that. We make our own efforts and find out people and maybe seek gurus. But a normal Hindu actually grows like that. And in today's era, the kind of environment that a Hindu kid grows up in is a uh, he's totally he's consumed by the notions of modernity, the mainstream ideas of modernity, which are essentially Christian ideas. So it is not an exaggeration to say that a Hindu who does not subscribe to any school, any formal school, or does not practice Hinduism that way, is only Hindu because of his birth, uh,
Hmm.
is actually a Christian deep down. So I'm not saying this in a political sense to show some people or to show contempt for some people, but this is unfortunately, in my opinion, the reality that unless
Hmm.
you are practicing Hindu dharma, you're not really following anything as such. You're just being politically Hindu,
So
and
something like a
you're
Protestant,
being Christian.
something like a Protestant, reform or movement, if that would have happened in Hinduism, say 100 years back, and just like Protestants, kind of legitimize themselves. So liberal Hindus basically fail to legitimize themselves, and Protestants could.
No, Protestants legitimize themselves by defaming the Catholics.
Okay.
They everything that the Catholics weren't basically. It was a reaction to Catholic the Catholic faith, and
Hmm.
that is why they sort of did away with everything that the Catholics stood for, including the Catholic Church, the clergy, the rituals, all that grand Latin में बोलते हुए लोग और all that. So they just made it into English कि English से ही communicate करो and you can directly if you have God in your heart everything is fine. That sort of
Hmm.
thing. That unfortunately is also the reality of modern Hindus that you say that oh I don't need to go to a specific temple and I don't need to visit temples because I believe in God and I have a clear conscience. That's
Hmm.
not how it works. And we saw that very clearly in the Shabrimala agitation. The
Hmm.
Shabrimala issue. Why did a 80% Hindu majority country get bullied into having a major center of pilgrimage change its fundamental rules because because Hindus basically didn't know what running in like in the north. I mean, I have lived in the South for a while, so I was reasonably familiar with the whole ethos of Ayyappa. But
Okay, okay.
my friends in the North, they were not, and not for their fault. I mean, they did not
Right.
know about it. And they said, यार हो सकता है यार किसी मंदिर में लड़कियां नहीं जा सकती, ये तो बड़ा गलत है, ये तो बड़ा डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी. That is the automatic way of thinking. That is the inertia with which your thought process happens. कि हाँ ये तो गलत है. That is the first reaction. And you know how humans are wired, that we will always try hard to defend our first reactions. जो हमारा emotional बोलेगा, हम वो बोलेंगे हाँ हाँ ये यही सही है, and then we'll do everything we can to manipulate our rational mind to
Right.
believe. So that is what happened there also in Sabrimala. It is with a massive effort of re-education by a large number of people that ultimately even people in the north started making sense of acha actually ye hota hai. It's not so simple. Similarly, notions about God, like notions about pilgrimage, कि ये मंदिर शबरीमला का मंदिर है, वहां पे महिलाएं नहीं जा सकती, जबकि अयप्पा के अन्य मंदिर हैं जहाँ पे महिलाएं बिल्कुल जा सकती हैं. सेम डेटी, सेम भगवान है ना, पर दो अलग अलग रूप में वहां है. सो every shrine, every place, every holy place has its own character, and that character is what needs to be preserved. That is something that a lot of Hindus don't get even now.
Okay. Okay. Before I forget, there was a chat question specific to Sadhguru. Okay, it's on your screen. Would you want?
Sadhguru doesn't call himself Hindu, but brahmacharis at ashram have to follow ultra-orthodox Hindu sadhana. Is Sadhguru a Raita trad takiya master? I mean, to be fair to Sadhguru and myself, I cannot answer on behalf of Sadhguru. But I do think that a lot of modern gurus, although they receive a lot of flack from trads,
Right. Right.
But I do think, I mean, my personal take, and I may be wrong, but I do think that the more the following of a guru, right, the shallower the sadhana or the effects that or the benefit that individuals may have. I may be totally wrong, but this is I tend to see these large following gurus as important in the collective sense, but I, as an individual, may not like to go and
Yeah.
which does not mean that I reject what they're doing, which is fine.
Right.
I mean, like I said, मेरी कसौटी ये है कि अगर वो बहुत महान लोग क्रिएट कर सकते हैं जो धार्मिक हैं, जो स्पिरिचुअल कॉम्प्लीमेंट्स हैं, who the hell am I to question that?
Right. That you have made clear. And going back to the Sabrimala case, I do get a point. In fact, initially, मुझे भी लग रहा था कि this is about women's right, and it took a time to understand that this is not about women's right. This is about local traditions, and this was actually the Sabrimala thing going against that was a very illiberal thing actually. It's the even though you hate the term liberal, or maybe you don't like, not exactly hate, but this whole multitudes of sampradayas, and which can be argued to be making Hinduism liberal, that was what was under attack in Sabrimala. And you were trying to project that attack as something that saves liberalism. It might save a Western concept of liberalism, but it was definitely destroying the Hindu concept of liberalism. So that I agree, and that's where perhaps I would kind of see a lot of merit in when you are not comfortable in Hindus who are just born Hindus and who would want to pursue secular ideas and stuff like that, and just have a sense of identity, because then that can result into them being manipulated into attacking their own faith and all that. However, when we talk about Christianity, and this is where we transition a little bit into the political and ideological domain, that when we look at Protestant reform or Protestant movement vis-a-vis Christianity. In terms of helping Christianity or helping the Christians as community or helping them gain political power, the Protestant reform was not a bad idea, right? It did help them in many ways. So in that way, many Raitas are Protestants. So why would we resist a Protestant reform or a Protestant kind of parallel within Hinduism if it has if it actually it hasn't hurt Christians or the Christian world, or you think it has hurt?
It has profoundly hurt the Christian world. The crisis in Europe today, you yourself started off with saying that Christians के यहाँ चले गए church, वो भी नहीं जाते. Europe तो is profoundly atheistic. So that is direct outcome of the Protestant Reformation.
Not an outcome of Industrial Revolution or anything.
So then it could be argued that even Protestant Reformation
was an outcome of it.
So that's the thing. I mean, when you are out to make everything notional and you outlaw rituals, for example, and you say you legitimize rituals, and you say कि नहीं सब कुछ अपना belief जगह होते हैं, all these easy idea everything is good. तो वो सब जो जब होता है, that is typically what modern Hindus also say. For example, and it's not about. I think I have more problems with people who actually wear Hinduism on their sleeves and say these things than those people who actually openly criticize Hinduism and say that it's oppressive. I don't have a problem with it. They are not even Hindu. They don't even call themselves Hindu. So at least they have that. There are people who actually call themselves Hindu, proudly write proud Hindu and vote for BJP and all those things, the checklists that you have. And then they talk about things like, for example, in the Pashu Bali matter. Pashu Bali kaise ho sakti hai? How can you hurt an animal? From up to did a satirical poster. We gave them a certificate of being ignorant. So उस time भी बहुत शोर मचा. And we supported the greatest acharyas of various sampradayas, including Vaishnav sampradayas, who innovated in the ritualistic part to create alternatives to Pashu Bali. But these acharyas themselves, when they did it, they did not say that Pashu Bali is not allowed. They said that look how with times we need to change and let's create an anukalpa. और हम लॉसी काट देते हैं, which will not result, very clear. But yeah, let's make that. While other sampradayas continue. Today, Hindus on social media will tell you that it is written in the Vedas that there is no Pashu Bali. अबे तूने कौन से वेद पढ़े? इसको बेवकूफ एक ने बोला, एक बंदे ये क्या बोल रहे हो, आदि शंकराचार्य ने कब बोला? तो हमने उसको वापस कमेंट में लिखा कि उनके भाष्य में ये लिखा है. अरे भाषण तो हो सकता है, लिखा कहाँ है?
No, I understand that, but okay, this is an interesting question that now see, you cannot wish away the reality that many or rather the majority of Hindus are like that. So if you want to maybe save them from going complete Raita or complete Protestant, I would rather use that term. Then should something like what Nitesh has put should be done? I mean, should we? Huh? No. Why?
How can you commandmentalize, like Professor Bharat has this phrase, commandmentalize, which is what is happening. Even in the Pashto, it is a commandmentalized version of Hinduism that these guys are following. Like Bhagavan says that we are sentient beings. One, you know, it is not entirely false. There's a strain in Hinduism which says that I mean vegetarianism is an ideal even for non-vegetarian. Let's say that we are a better way of why hurt animals, but there is no injunction and there are practices that support killing of animals, right? The Bali, and Bali Pratha. I'm a huge supporter of the Bali Pratha, and I think that if Hindus stop Bali Pratha by hook or crook, I think it will be the greatest damage to the structure of dharma. That said, I think all this confusion comes from that we have pre-colonial times, and by pre-colonial, I don't mean the British colonial, I mean the Islamic colonial colonizers as well. From those times when India was completely dharmic to the post-colonial society in independent India, there is a huge gap that needs to be, which means that we can't go back to colonial India, but we need to do something about the disruption, this profound disruption that happened in between, by invoking the tradition, by understanding the tradition, and solving challenges of the current era as Hindus. And that, I think state power is absolutely essential. In my opinion, if India does not become a Hindu state, then eventually Hindus will all become these liberal, no traditional Hindus who are actually protesters. Because how long can these pathas survive? How long can they, wage these lone battles without any support from society, without any major funds coming their way? They're just forlorn, and they're just doing stuff. They're preserving what was there. They're not even equipped to handle the challenges of the current era, because there is already a great burden on them of preserving what was there in the past. How do you now negotiate the future? So unless state power is used, I don't think that there is much hope for us. Which is why I think that it is important to bring in a newer, reinvigorated form of nationalism, of civilizational nationalism, and say that we as a people are stateless. We don't, while every other community in the world does have state power. And as a global minority, Hindus are without state, without protection. Who protects us in United Nations? Talking about my community, Kashmiri Hindus, 5 lakh people were kicked out. No one talks about it. Not look at us as their own people. For us, we are just one, because the Indian state does not believe in this distinction between Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, which is Hindu, Muslim, Christian, which I think is wrong. And we've been taught to believe that it's a great virtue.
Right. Yeah, no quarrel about that. Only one thing, a specific one I would want to understand from you, that you said that you would not want Pashu Bali to go away. However, you also said that in the past, dharmacharyas or gurus, they haven't criticized or chastised Pashu Bali, but they said, okay, we should cut a lauki and all that. So would you be fine with a society which says that, okay, Pashu Bali is fine, but due to XYZ, we would stop it and we would stick with this, or just for sake of traditions, you would definitely want Pashu Bali to continue?
There are 2-3 things here. First of all, many sampradayas have already done it. Like I said, they have Anukalpa. They've already done away with Pashu Bali. But those sampradayas which have not done so for people.
Right.
Typically, the Shakta sampradayas, if you go to a Mahashakti Peeth like Kamakhya, or you go to the Tripur Sundari temple, the deity demands the Bali. And for someone who's a follower of that path, how can you prevent that from happening? I mean, if I go
Yeah,
to,
that I agree. Yeah, yeah.
so that is one thing.
Hmm.
The other part about uh, the other part is the problematic part is you cannot have a single rule for
Hmm.
all the simple.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is the question. The third is the grand hypocrisy that you meat consumption in restaurants is allowed, but you
Uh-huh.
can't offer. So that is absolute goner. I mean, you can't even argue on this basis. You
Yeah, yeah.
have
Till the time non-vegetarianism is there, but
so the
then. Uh-huh.
my rhetorical answer to this rhetorical question would be that
Hmm.
if the way that India declares itself to be a
Ah,
100% vegetarian country, then
right.
we will talk.
Right,
I'm not
right.
saying
Okay.
we will stop, but I'm saying then we will talk about it.
Okay, we move to the political and then and little bit of Twitter thing, there are some questions. Yeah, okay, you can read and uh,
Do
do a
Western
step
countries,
answer.
LGBTQ feminism, Abrahamic atheism pose major threat to Hinduism in near future? I think all these, the feminism and atheism and the Abrahamic notions, like I said, they are already part of mainstream Hindu psyche
Hmm.
because we are surrounded by, I mean, we are educated in that way. Our education indoctrinates us into believing these things. And notionally, we are already processing information from that lens. So obviously, yes, it is a great danger. Uh, and everything is made into an activism sort of thing, and there is no discussion about, like for example, even in the West, LGBTQ issues. Uh,
Hmm.
I mean, even within Western society, you have conservative LGBTQ. You are saying that this movement has already been hijacked and this is going nowhere.
Hmm.
I mean, these are such problematic concepts, and there are fundamental issues with importing them to India,
Hmm.
which they have done. That it's a no-brainer. Of course, they are damaging Hindu society. They are attacking the very concept of family, and they're breaking down families. And with the media prying into your homes and broadcasting these views 24/7, the damage done to the children is cannot be overstated. So,
While the political aspect is obviously what you have said is valid, but when you completely reject these ideas as something not compatible with Hinduism, then are you not in a way saying that these violate some core principles of Hinduism? But
I'm saying from the from the mere point of view of the society, from a social
okay,
perspective.
okay, okay.
Social perspective. Hindu religion created a society that basically served certain ideas and purusharthas, for example.
Mhm.
The society is organized in a way that it enables individuals to pursue purusharthas. And when
Mhm.
anything that comes in the way of that pursuit, that becomes un-Hindu.
Okay.
So that's not religious. That there you will find a book and you will say that verse 13, chapter 24, behind you. But it is there in the practical.
Okay, there is this is by Kunal Punjabi, and this is something I had also indirectly referred to. Like I don't know where he is putting the RSS and the Protestant Christianity, or maybe he's right also. But going back to the Protestant movement and rebranding Raita movement as Protestant movement, what if I would still argue that Protestant movement has not hurt Christianity that much because there are Protestant missionaries too, and they have been able to convert a lot and increase the tribe of Christians. So why are you so against even Raita Christians, right? And yeah.
See, I am saying that Protestantizing Christianity is a
Hmm.
way, is the start of the end of Christianity, and that it's a logical outcome. Today, Protestants are looking at India and Africa and all these countries because no one cares about them in Europe, where they're epicenter. No one cares about them there, and therefore they're looking at. other areas. Not just because of that, but also because they want to expand and grow. But eventually, let's say in a hypothetical situation, there is a significant number of Protestant Christians in India. The successive generation will become secularized. That's a given because that's the nature of Protestant religion. It's a shallow, completely emotional and absolutely brain dead sort of. It,
Do you get donations from Catholics? Upward should seek donations from Catholics then.
See, the Catholic religion, because it evolved over a period of time and because it was the original form, it took a lot of uh, pagan practices. It absorbed a lot of pagan practices, even though they decried pagans, they destroyed their culture, they destroyed their books, their monuments, and everything. But they took what worked for pagans uh, and made it into a form of Christian practice. Like even in Islam, for example, the Kaaba,
Hmm.
the that circumambulation of Kaaba, जो उसके गोल गोल घूम के जाते हैं, that is basically the old temple.
Right. Yeah.
So that is a pagan practice. It's big
Hmm.
Murti Puja, but they go around that stone, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
that's the Islamic pagan practice, and they found it useful for to adopt that practice so that people could congregate at a place and give them a sense of community and all that.
Right.
So the Catholic religion, similarly, it did absorb a lot of pagan practices, and which is why it was still very effective. Uh, but Protestant religion, once the Reformation happened, it laid grounds for secularization, and
Hmm.
it sort of reinvented itself, and which made the famous German philosopher Nietzsche say that God is dead, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that is how it happens. And it's no surprise that, I mean, even in India, they will come to the same end. The Protestant Christians, over generations, they will be modern people with no atheists, basically modern atheists with a Christian cultural. So when if you do the same thing with Hinduism, then you are destroying the religion. That is my submission.
Okay. Okay. Will West have more Hindu influence in near future?
The previous question by Kunal. So
RSS thing. Huh?
it grew with RSS and Protestant religion is quite valid because you see, I mean, even in the sorry, Shabrimala agitation, but the first reaction of RSS was very Protestant, which is what they internally are, and it is to their credit that they did a U-turn and they corrected themselves, and then they finally said, no, no, this is not how it should be. That due credit to them, uh, but who? I mean, what was the first reaction to Shabrimala? That was a Protestant reaction. कि मंदिर वंदिर क्या होता है? सब कुछ तो अंदर है.
Hmm. 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 And you think RSS is very much on Protestant path?
Yes, because they don't. I mean, first of all, they don't adhere to any specific sampradaya of Hinduism.
Hmm.
Their whole social work and external seva karna ये सब, which is
I think there was your audio got muted, but that's why should that be a problem? I mean, every organization should not be a sampradaya, right? I mean, you do need a
I'm
organization
not,
level.
I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm just describing to me as they appear to me. I'm not saying that they should change. I mean, I'm not a stakeholder in RSS to give them lectures on how they should function. It's fine. I mean, but to say that
But you keep on making quips on them. You keep on trolling them. You keep on snide remarks on them. Yeah.
do it. But yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is that if they claim that they are a Hindu organization, then they need to specify which sampradaya, what are their, I mean, what
Yeah, but
practices they end.
so the way as I said,
What is their, for example, as a person who endorses Pashu Bali, I would like to know what RSS thinks of Pashu Bali. Have they
but
ever
why?
made?
But why would you want to know? I mean, that's not their domain.
No, because they are the ones in charge of the country right now through BJP. I mean, let's not fool ourselves that does not have any influence on the government. They are a
mm,
cultural organization that informs the sense of the
mm,
government in
mm,
cultural matters. I mean, all
mm.
major in cultural organizations are slowly being occupied by members of the RSS because that is, I mean, that is the inner circle, right, of the BJP government. So good for them. I'm really happy that that is happening, but let them please specify what they stand for.
Okay, and so the sense I'm getting, now that we are into, in the mix of religion and political one, so any political Hindu movement, which either skirts or kind of avoids scriptural, or the kind of questions that you guys raise, uh, your solution would be to make snide remarks on them, or let them do, or maybe have some faith that maybe in sometime in future, there could be right time, or you think that there is, currently is the right time, and if we are missing it, it's all gone.
Of course, currently is the right time. I mean, who knows who will come back to power in 2024, right?
Okay. Okay,
With the
let's will West have more Hindu influence in near future? Now, because I think it follows from your point that Protestant religion is killing the Christianity there. So, could there be a Hindu influence or not? Or we are not ready?
I, I think to cut long story short, I just want to reiterate on my point that Hindus really don't have any option other than to work towards a Hindu nation state, and
Hmm.
then you can look at having
Yeah, that
influence.
I agree. Yeah, I think I had seen another your opinion on proselytizing organization like ISKCON. And this has to be you. Yeah, I mean, you have to answer it. Yeah.
Look, I mean, ISKCON, when they proselytize, I think proselytizing itself is a great thing that they do, that they convert people into Hinduism. And I think that is something that other Hindu organizations like Ramakrishna Mission or Isha Foundation or Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, all these organizations with huge membership, I would say that, for them, they should also do it. I mean, I'm just being, I'm just giving free advice to them. They will not ask me, and nor does my advice really matter to them. But yeah, I mean, I think that I had met a Brazilian Hindu who told me that he was exasperated by the fact. I told him that there's just so much popularity of these organizations abroad, and I'd seen some videos where one of these figures, spiritual figures, modern Hindu gurus, some it's surrounded by a sea of people. It's almost like a rock concert, and it's, I mean, all the
Mm.
footage is
Mhm.
impressive. And I was telling him that it seems that these guys have great influence there. He said that, look, that is not really the case. It's more optics that way, because when these guys go, they market themselves as another retreat and some feel good thing. And a lot of people are free on the weekend. They have nothing better to do. They lead like the West End, so they say, "कि, okay, chalo, enroll kar lete hain." And then they have a lot of fun. When the retreat is over, then they are told to go back to being a good Christian. And he's like pulling, what nonsense is this? You have invested so much time and effort, and finally got this guy on in listening mode. Give them something to take back as Hindus. Don't say that now you start living as a Hindu. Why are you shy of
Mm. Mm.
something that if is uh, but if that is what they do as,
Mm. Yeah.
then that is a good thing. They should do that.
Okay. Okay, so this is, I mean, like, is it possible to say that harmony is the core theme of Sanatan Dharma? As far as I know, even Aghori tradition do not engage in violence with respect to beef eating. I mean, I don't think you disagree much, but I think, I mean, imagining what your problem would be with this is perhaps you would find that, internalizing this might need to too much of pacifism like Mahatma Gandhi, right? That could be
No,
a risk. Uh-huh.
I mean, in the internal content, if you draw once you draw a clear line,
Hmm.
a political of in-group. If you are clear Christianity is not Hinduism, if you're clear that Muslims are not Hindu, if you're clear that these rabid atheists are then within the group, within the dharmic fold, then harmony is indeed a very, very powerful source of inspiration. That's something that could be one of the core attributes of dharma. It is, of course, harmony.
Yeah. Okay. 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 How can you create a Hindu nation state without defining Hinduism? Yeah. So this is something, I mean, Nitesh, I think, or was it a separate, another Nitesh? But this is coming, this is, I think, more of a Raita confusion that, that we.
So when we talk about Hindu nation state, I think we should restrict ourselves to the collective, as I said. I mean, it's very important to make that distinction. Whenever analyzing, we should first put the context of whether it is in the form of individual or collective. Like I said, in the individual case, it is very difficult to say what is what. In my own case, like I said, that as an individual, I do believe that Buddhism is Hinduism, but in the so it's not such a big problem. And a lot of work is already happening in defining what the state would look like. People are obsessed with just Shastras, but there are many, many texts in medieval and even in modern era where scholars have worked on the idea of a Hindu nation. And there is to build on.
So I think earlier you had completely dismissed the need to codify what is Hinduism, but what could be the concept of a Hindu nation state or a Hindu Rashtra? That I think should be codified, because in absence of that, everyone goes on a rant that this is what Hindu nation would be.
Even in the past, the codification was there for the collective. Like even the Manusmriti, the injunctions of the Manusmriti are a collective injunction, right? Any Dharma Shastra is a collective injunction. These are the guidelines according to which.
So this 20 seconds of the clip would go viral by Periyarites that you are actually saying that Manusmriti would be the basis of Hindu Rashtra.
No. I'm not saying Manusmriti would be the basis of Hindu Rashtra, because Manusmriti was in a time when there was no democracy and when we were not challenged by the challenges that we are today. The population was, society was much more organized, it was much more stable. Different eras. It would not make sense. But at the same time, I would say that Manusmriti must inform to a large extent the Hindu Rashtra constitution would be like, because the Manusmriti is a fantastic book. In these liberal circles, Manusmriti is a profound book, and while you have issues with certain things which were applicable at a certain time, but you understand why that was so in that.
Yeah, right? 6 or 7 years back, I had come through a blog which was being shared widely. Then obviously Twitter was not 6 or 7, much more than that. When Twitter was not so ubiquitous, and when trads, raitas, and all these things were not there. So I think and that blog post had put in some very imaginary quotes of Manusmriti, that didn't even exist, and so it's a much maligned, much misunderstood book. Anyway, that I'll keep that away from the scope of this discussion. And we also have we have gone over 90 minutes. Unless stop giving caste certificates, India Hindu people can never. Okay, I think I'll this whole thing about caste, and especially you involved, was discussed by Nupur also in a separate thing. So that's again I'm going to leave it aside, and I would now move towards conclusion. Well, there is no conclusion. This just like you have put in as everything is Sanatan in Hinduism, obviously the discussion debate will continue. So far as I mean, on the political aspect, I couldn't discuss much. One also, we are over. It's been too long now. There are certain, maybe we would have another chat where then you can maybe question something to me, that why we Raitas completely kind of don't tell you guys that don't be too much pedantic. the entire thing about politics and all that has its own importance. Yeah.
We will do an interview with you once your book is released.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, so obviously the book promotion has to be there, and in that Manusmriti sung, everything comes. That that come there. Okay, Nupur is saying something. Okay. Okay, give shout out to me. अरे अभी तो बोला. Okay, Nupur is very very hardworking editor and very and yeah and actually she's this is not a joke, but she is pretty good in interviewing people, in debating and moderating. I'm learning. मैं तो बस जो हो सकता है थोड़ा बहुत कर लेता हूँ. So now, yeah, so we would go, in the opening remarks, we had said कि Twitter वाले भी थोड़ी बात डिस्कस कर लेंगे. जब भी ट्रेड्स की बात आती है तो एक चीज पे खासकर मुझ पे रॉप इंडिया वालों पे तो सब चढ़ ही जाते हैं कि इतना जो गाली गलौज करते हो उस पे आप क्यों नहीं बोलते. So one, my personal belief is कि there is no point trying to fight abuse on the social media unless you have the power. And many people try to tell me that no, I have some power, like because of supposed some right-wing celebrity status and all that, I have some power that I can use. I'm not convinced. Unless I have power, I will not spare my efforts or energies on fighting something which I know I cannot control. And abusive people, I mean, the best thing that you can give to them is the attention. So that's my that's one of the reasons why I appear to be ignoring the abusers. And especially Nupur has been accused of legitimizing the trads and only painting them as only Ashish Dhars and Sai Deepaks and not abusive ones, which obviously is I don't think she has done that as well, but it's true that and the problem of abuse is there, and the problem and that cuts across that's present in everywhere. But given the way you have put forward certain things, I believe much of the mannerisms that these so-called trads who get under the skin of the writers, they don't look like trads, like they are completely hell-bent then that if you are not following these 3 or 4, 5 things, then you deserve all kind of harassment, abuse, everything, which I don't know. I mean, I don't want you to be apologetic for them, but this is maybe I'm saying something just for my own thing. But if there is something that you would voluntarily like to add, you may. Otherwise, yeah.
I mentioned this in podcast that trads, when they want to promote a certain point of view, they fall in the same trap that I was mentioning, that dharma is not so much about what you believe in, but more about what you practice.
Right.
And practice, then you're just being a hypocrite. In that scheme of things, because it's not easy to practice.
True.
Yeah, that's the element in the. So you're claiming that you're bad and you're not living that, then you lose all the legitimacy. So but you see, there is still a room for discussion. There is still room for having a traditional, and you may or may not. It does not mean that if you don't not doing that is required of a Hindu. That never happens. You will, take that effort, and the rest of the society will only follow. But not living it freely, then you need to have the ability to.
Right. Yeah, you're
need not be forward in a militant.
Yeah, your voice is cracking, but I think we all got to understand what was the point. And anyway, even when you told that when you are not following certain rules of your own sampradayas or whatever, the authority to kick you out definitely doesn't vest in people with a Twitter handle. That can surely we can agree upon. So yeah. So with that, we would end it. Thanks a lot for joining and sparing 100 minutes.
And
Yeah.
thank you to Nupur,
Uh,
especially for for being the backstage manager of all the technical issues.
yeah. For a change, she was the technical expert. Imagine. Yeah.
She's not good with these things, but she's actually a genius. Good
Yeah.
for you.
Sure. Okay, so on that note, thanks a lot, guys, for following it, for staying all over 100 minutes, and thanks to Nupur. And Nupur, you can, I don't know how to end it. Please end it, and Happy New Year again to Raitas, and have a good day to Threads. Yeah.